All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back as we continue our interview series. One of our last speakers, but certainly not least. Uh, I am Don Fisher, your host. This is Mom's Movement and Mindset, how to break through resistance and transform your body and mind. Today, speaking with an awesome lady, Tiffany Phillips. Tiffany Phillips is a highly accomplished, multi-talented, multi-hyphenated actress, producer, director, singer, comedian, and content creator who began her career in the New York theater. National tours include Beehive, the 60s girl group musical, Sweet Charity, and More Magic, the Motown Review, starring Florence LaRue of the Fifth Dimension. Currently, her top-rated podcast, Self-Deprecated with Tiffany Phillips, can be heard on all podcast platforms, and the award-winning comedy web series, Ethically Ambiguous, that she created, wrote, and starred in can be seen on YouTube. Based on her own real-life experience, Ethically Ambiguous delivers a comedic taste of what it's like to be constantly asked, "What are you?" by unboxing racial identity. As someone who's been questioned about her identity most of her life, which for a period took quite a toll on her sense of self-worth, Tiffany is on a mission to help other women rediscover and reclaim their power by owning their truth. Her soon-to-be-released book, Own It, No Approval Needed, is an unabashed manifesto on owning exactly who you are, where you are right now, by emancipating yourself from the stereotypes, labels, and misperceptions that have been put on us since birth, especially as women. Do you own who you are, or are you simply renting that space? It's time to take back the keys and open the door to unlimited possibilities in every aspect of your life. Hello, Tiffany. How are you?
Oh, great. Wow. Who wrote that, Dawn? That was awesome. Thank you.
Well, that came from someone that I'm speaking to right now. It must come off that naturally, but thank you for being here.
Thank
How
you for
are you
having
today?
me. I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, we all have time to commit to different people, different places. So for you to take, even just 30 minutes out of your time, it means a lot. So I thank you again for being here. So we're going to jump right in. So my first question to you, with resistance now, right? The main theme of this series is overcoming resistance. If you could just, in your words, define what resistance is to you, and then maybe give some examples, whether it's from your own life or even people that you've spoken to on your podcast.
Yeah, well, Dawn, I experienced some resistance just this morning going to work out. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I'm going to lay in bed. But I just kept thinking about the outcome, how I was going to feel after I made it to that workout. So that was just one tiny example. I feel like I experienced a little resistance in my everyday life in different aspects in different ways, but now I have identified it and I know what it is. So resistance is a psychological reaction to change. It's like a self-protection mechanism where we oppose the change or struggle against our desired behavior modification. So as miserable as these negative thought patterns make us feel, ironically, this is where we tend to feel safe or comfortable despite the discomfort, because I had been in a place of resistance for so long. So I'm going to share my own story because this is personal to me. And I feel like, anybody will relate to this, whether you're a mom or whether you're a banker, a single woman like myself. So for me, and the inspiration for me creating the book, Own It, which is going to be coming out by the end of this year, is I was constantly seeking validation from the outside world. I needed to, and of course I get into this career of acting, which is all about, you need this validation. It's either you're getting validated or you're getting rejected. And it was just this vicious cycle. And I got to this point where I had so much resistance towards auditioning because there was this year where I wasn't booking and I was over it. Every time I had an audition, I would not, instead of getting excited for this new opportunity, I would get angry. Oh, what's the point? Why should I even bother? It's not like I'm going to book it. And all of that is resistance. It is what makes you procrastinate. It's what makes you angry for no reason. It's what keeps you stuck exactly where you are. So I had to work through that daily to get out of a place of being angry when these opportunities come my way, and looking at it from a standpoint of, this is going to take me one step closer to getting what I want, to making my dreams come true. And I started releasing myself from the expectation or the outcome of how I thought that it would turn out or how I wanted it to turn out. So releasing myself from wanting to get the role or get the job or get the guy or get the, whatever this is that I thought was going to make me whole as a person. So I started naming it. And whenever that resistance would come up, I called her Hussy. And I was like, listen, Hussy, I get it. I understand that you're over it. You're over this. You think that you're so far away from getting your dream role and it's never going to happen for you, but I'm going to need you to step aside, take a seat. It's okay to feel this way, but what we're going to do is we're going to be grateful. We're going to be in a state of gratitude because this is one more opportunity that is coming to us. How exciting is this? And I started getting excited again. I had to work at it. It did not happen overnight. So instead of looking at it as a drudgery, it was more, woo, I get to play and have fun. I made it fun. So whatever this change that I was going through, I made it into something that wasn't so heavy or deep. I made it into almost like an experiment where I'm going to play with this and see what happens. So I started doing that, and lo and behold, the bookings started coming in. It was really a process of me just letting go. I had to let go and talk to that little girl who's so full of resistance and angst, and level with her, because it's still going to be there. She's still going to be there talking to you and not wanting to do these things because your ego resistance doesn't want you to change. It's very comfortable where you are. It wants you to stay where you are, but you have to make a conscious effort to move past it.
Yeah, I mean that's one theme that I've seen so far throughout this, speaking with all the women that I've spoken to, is that our resistance, it is in a way like separate from us. And I love how you just depicted that, right? You named it Hussy. That's incredible. But it's so powerful because our mindset it dictates and controls how we go through our day. So I mean, I absolutely love that. So with that, I just want to piggyback on that. Why would someone, I get like someone, feeling fearful, and there's the resistance, and it could be Hussy, it could be Daniel, whatever they want to call it, if they even call it that. But if somebody wants to move forward in a specific area in their life, like really badly, why would they feel resistance? Why would this blockage come up if they really want to move forward? Because I feel like sometimes people think like if they don't move forward, but they truly want to, they get down on themselves and say like, oh, like I'm not motivated or this or that. So why do you feel that is?
Well, I mean, it's very much like I said before. It's a self-protection mechanism, and there's this part of us that doesn't want to change or struggle against our desired behavior, or this new person that we're trying to be, because you are comfortable, you're set in your ways. You're set in your ways, really, even if your ways aren't working for you. And you've been there for so long, it's so comfortable that it's work to pull yourself out of that and to turn into this. It's like the other side of you, this other person that is full of resistance and doesn't want you to change, that you have to kill that person off. That person has to die. And then this new person, this new you, it has to be born. So it's weird that we are comfortable. It's strange that we'd be comfortable in this uncomfortable place, but it's only because it's something that we're used to. It's a behavior pattern, or it's something that we've been doing for so long that it's work to assimilate to something else, to a new thought pattern, to a new behavior, to a new home, whatever change you're trying to make in your life. I feel like all the resistance comes against you when you're trying to change, whether it's just changing how you see things or changing your attitude towards somebody. It's all going to be met with resistance, but you just have to know how to overcome it. somehow.
So that's actually what I want to turn into, and again, maybe you in your individual journey, like you shared, you went to the gym earlier and you were feeling resistance there. But two things, you touched earlier, like on our first question, one that it's not an overnight process, and then two, you mentioned like you kind of have to kill off the ego and to the best of your ability, kind of do away with or hush that side down. So what tips could you provide someone for overcoming that resistance, that fear, that anxiety, those limiting beliefs that may be getting in the way?
Okay, so like I said, I name mine and then have a conversation with it. Maybe write a letter to your resistance. I will write a letter to my perfectionism. I'll write a letter to my self doubt. I'll write a letter to my fear, and I'll have a conversation with it and meet it head on, because it's not going anywhere. It's always going to be there lingering. So, how about if I just make peace with it? So, after you've done that, and had a conversation with it. I know it sounds strange. I'm not saying go to your nearest Starbucks and be having a conversation with your resistance and your perfectionism at a Starbucks and people are thinking you're crazy, but it does help to do that. For me, it has. Also, focusing on what is going right. Okay. So when you are in this phase of change, it seems like the negative things tend to stand out to you more, and you'll become hyper focused on what's like. That's why you will procrastinate. I don't feel like doing that. I don't want to do this audition. I don't want to take my kid to school. I don't feel like it. That is all resistance. So instead, focus on what is going right. For example, me with my acting auditions, how I had so much resistance towards it because I wasn't getting the outcome that I wanted. I started focusing on, wow, I got an audition. How cool is this? Wow, this casting director saw probably hundreds of headshots and they chose me. How cool is that? I'm going to have a great audition. I started turning it around and focusing on what was going right in this moment. Also celebrating small wins. So when I did do that self tape, I patted myself on the back. Yeah, all right, I did it. All of that is just getting the positive energy flowing, because resistance is like negative. It's suffocating almost. So this is kind of it's releasing that and getting that positive energy flowing. When you're in a state of gratitude, I mean, we all know, we've all heard it. When you're in a state of gratitude and appreciating what you do have, then more of that comes to you. I know it's cliche, but it is true. It's so very true. Also, letting go of the outcome, detach and release yourself. Don't let your identity be identified by the outcome of this situation. So you just got to detach, release, and keep moving forward. And pretty soon, it's just like my resistance started slowly fading away. And I didn't really need to talk to her anymore, except for this morning when I needed to get out of bed and work out. I had to talk to that hussy.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I think what's empowering about what you said is it's a choice.
It
I
is.
feel like sometimes people maybe they feel like they're stuck in like, when they get into that quitting mentality of just like, oh, what's the point? It's like that's the one way or the only way that they have. But from what you're sharing right now, they can choose to go another way with it, kind of like as you just spoke about, which I think is, I mean, that's so, I mean, like I said, it's empowering for sure. The other thing I love that you said too is I have a friend who actually said the same thing, where an expectation is just a premeditated resentment.
Oh, yes. Ooh, yes. Mm-hmm. Your friend nailed it.
Yeah. So I think that's a big one from my experience, like letting go of the outcome and simply focusing on what's in our control, which is our behavior, like our action. So with that, like could you just speak a little bit now on how you got these techniques, these tips that you kind of put out there that you've implemented in your life? You got let's say you overcame that resistance, you got an acting job. How did that make you feel, and like were you able to develop like some strength and resiliency through that process, and ultimately face larger tasks? Like even right now you're writing a book, like I'm sure that's got to have a lot of stress there, and like I'm sure you faced resistance, but you're chugging
Yes.
along, and I'm sure you moving through those walls is helping you to get stronger.
100%. I mean, anytime you're making big change in your life or you're about to elevate to the next level, you're going to experience resistance. It's actually, I kind of look at it as I feel like I'm moving forward. I'm about to do something big when resistance comes. I'm like, oh, this means I'm about to do something really big, major change in my life. This is good. Get excited about it. Yes, resistance sucks. You kind of have to power through it, but it is also a sign that you're going somewhere. So it's almost, it's like one of those things where they say when you're just about to make it, is every obstacle starts coming in the way. It's almost like a test. It's like you're being tested. Are you going to power through it, or are you going to succumb to the obstacles? Or are you going to let it beat you down? So you can succumb to the resistance, but the payoff isn't going to be very good for you, right? Like you don't want to stay in this place wherever it is that you were trying to make this change. So for me, it made me see just how strong and resilient I was. The true test, I lost both my parents, my mother to stage 4 lung cancer in 2018, and then my dad 6 months later in 2019. Now that was a test right there. To see just how resilient I could be. How is my bounce back after I lose two of the most important people in my life? And that's when I experienced the most resistance, was right after their death. And that's when the auditions started coming up. And I was still grieving. I'm still grieving. Like, I feel like the grief is going to be a lifelong process when you lose people that you truly love. So the resistance came up probably a year or two after that, put me in a place where I didn't even want to act. I didn't want to audition. I didn't want to do anything. I had resistance to everything. And so I had to kind of pull from that place of resilience that, Tiffany, you just made it through losing both of your parents. Look at you, you're still standing. It's almost like you got to pep talk yourself a little bit. Like I say this in my book, you are the doorman or doorwoman of your life. You decide who comes in and who goes out. You decide what you let in and what you let out. The choice is yours. So you decide, like you said, it's a choice that I'm going to conquer this resistance and I'm going to get to this place that I know I'm supposed to be, where I'm going to be my best self. I'm going to achieve greatness. I'm going to do this. Or you can choose to go the other direction. And we all have it in us. We're all resilient. We're all stronger than we think we are. I didn't know how strong I could be. So it was a sign that it has fueled me in my endeavors thus far since then. Now I look at everything differently, because if I could overcome that, I can overcome anything.
One thing that you said in there that I would love if you could even touch on this as well is, and it's just something I've seen with clients and speaking with the other women throughout this series so far, is, it's healthy to experience and to feel and to express emotions. But I feel when it comes to resistance, I'm sure there's times in your life you woke up and didn't want to do something. You didn't feel like doing something that you do because it was going to serve, your purpose and serve your vision. I could be wrong in assuming that, but if I am, you could tell me. But if I'm right, I would love to hear it, like some of that, like an example of that, maybe, or a story that you have. That'd be great.
No, what you said, can you repeat that again? You kind of went out just a little bit on my end. Can you say that last sentence again?
Yeah, for sure. Just speaking a little bit about how like emotions, like maybe throughout your career, like of all the obstacles you faced, how you woke up, I'm sure maybe on one day and said, I don't feel like doing this today. Whether it was going to the gym, whether it was writing your book, whether it was speaking to somebody's podcast, whether it was going on an acting audition, but yet you did it anyway, regardless of your feelings.
Well, yeah, I think it's sometimes you just have to. You don't really have a choice. You have to get out of bed. Like for moms, they know they have to get out of bed. They got to take their kids to school. They got to make a breakfast. I have to keep going. And even after I lost my parents, let me tell you, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do anything. I think for about a week, I kind of stayed in bed. I mean, I was having wine in the middle of the day, like it was for breakfast. But I also, in the midst of this grief and feeling my feelings, all of my feelings, I let myself have that moment. I said, okay, we're gonna take this time to lay in bed, do nothing, cry, curl up in a ball, fetal position, let it out. And then I gave myself a time limit. I said, then time to get up, time to keep going, because mom and dad wouldn't want you to curl up in a ball and die over there. They want you to keep going. They want to see you successful. This is how you're going to honor your parents. So, what is your why? That is the question. Why do you want to get out of bed? What is it that is motivating you to keep going? Focus on that why. So for me, it was, I want to make my parents proud. This is their legacy. I know that their dream for me was to be happy, successful, be a thriving human being. And this is part of my purpose in life. I have a purpose why I'm here. A lot of people don't get the privilege to be the age that I am, to be the age that you are, especially right now. So many people have lost their lives to COVID, and it's just been a really rough time. So here we are with the privilege to live on this earth in this day and age where we truly do have everything at our disposal. You can be whoever and whatever you want to be, but it's your choice. So focus on that why and use that to pull you out of bed.
Yeah, no, I mean that's great. I feel like a lot of people, and I'm definitely included in this, sometimes will focus too much on the rearview mirror and the past, everything that has happened. And you sharing a little bit on that why, it almost like it opens up like the windshield, right? The vision in front of us, and focus on that. Just through those days when you don't want to, or you're really facing or feeling the resistance and the blockage to break through and chase your dreams, and move forward toward your goals. We got one life to live. And I mean, I feel such a great example of that with everything you've accomplished.
Thank you. And also, like, this pain is a part of life. It's a natural part of life. We're all going to go through pain at some point, many times throughout our life, but use that pain. I also say in my book, your pain is your power. Use it to push you instead of having it annihilate you. Again, it's all part of that choice. We all have the beauty of being a human being on this earth is that we do have a choice.
Yeah, that's great. And you had the choice to be here today or not. And I'm really happy you chose to be here, because I know whoever's going to watch this, whoever's going to see this, they're going to take away a lot. Again, everybody watching this, wherever you may be, whatever time it may be, I'm Don Fisher. This is Mom's Movement and Mindset: How to Break Through Resistance and Transform Your Body and Mind. Tiffany, thank you so much for taking
Thank you.
time
It was
out of your
awesome.
day to be here. Really can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Don. It was awesome.